And then a little over 2 years ago, I started my own consulting group, and Anne has been one of my clients for the past 2 years. So basically, I help clients with site optimization through, looking at their data either in core metrics or Omniture and making sense of it, and helping them move projects through their business cycles so that they can, basically give them data-driven insights where they can optimize their site or their, what they're spending their time on, so that they, make more money.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, we'll probably have a pretty relevant conversation then, if that's it.
Okay.
Do you use any tools aside from Omniture Core Metrics? Do you have experience with anything else, or is that just the focus because most of your clients are enterprise and those are kind of the higher level products?
Well, there's a breadth of products that we use. I'd say a lot of it is Omniture or Core Metrics, but I use a lot of survey data. When we're digging into customer satisfaction, and that's with, BizRate or 4C. And then I also do some, work with NPD data, which is basically a lot of retail data. And I've used ComScore and stuff like that, those kinds of things. Okay,
great. Yeah, so on our end, once again, I'm just going to give you a ton. These products don't take 5 minutes to introduce. We have a pretty high-end analytics product to really get dirty and dig deep. But we're just going to give you a top-level overview, and from there, potentially talk about supplements to what you're currently doing, and if it's of interest to either you or any potential clients.
Okay.
Okay. So, long story short, our main asset is a differentiator, is our analytics. General analytics, what's being stored is the path from page to page. So if you have someone go from one page to another, you're creating one record that says this client from this location who's done this, they went from page to page. Any additional, if you want to grab any piece from the page, you need to create, are you familiar with event tracking?
Of course.
I'm just making sure I got around there. So long story short, for any individual piece on the page, you need to create a custom event tag. What our product does is, by default, we're storing every interaction on the website. That not only includes mouse movement, clicks, raw, and keystrokes individually, but a lot of subtle differentiators, such as if you select over text, then you press delete and retype information, we'd be able to do queries back in history of your data to know how many people deleted after typing in this word, how fast did they type, how fast did their mouse move during this duration, So that's a long story.
I love it. Let me ask you a question. Aside from just capturing what the customer is doing, are you able to see, for example, the specific error messages that were displayed on a page?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, anything on the web end, we're able to capture. The only thing we wouldn't be able to capture is if their internet went down or something like that, errors that's outside of our control. So
why don't you walk me through? Let's take the case example of somebody's in checkout. We work a lot in checkout generally. In my business, let's say we want to understand how many people are getting error messages and what are those specific error messages. Like we don't have, like on Anthailer anyway, we don't have each specific display action of a error message tagged. So why don't you show me, go through an example with using that scenario.
Okay, great. If you don't mind, Emily, just to be as efficient as possible with our conversation, if you wouldn't mind, I have 5 minutes intro, kind of the final. There's another piece to what we do. Then we can.
Okay, sorry, I'll be quiet.
No problem. Yeah, I know that's. It's good. I mean, you understand what we're talking about. So that's our differentiator from the data storage end. Our other asset there is we built everything that happens on a page is integrated into one source. We've been building this for about 4 or 5 years now. So we basically make sure everything seen on the site is all in one unified source, not a lot of different product integrations, So if you want to go deep into the on-page behavioral metrics, you can also relate it to customer lifetime from an IP address by cookie, all that kind of flexibility. So the other end of our coin and the more romanticized element for non-analytics experts is through that data, we're also recreating everything visually. So you can see everything the clients do to supplement all of the data that's stored. So that's used, of course, in a lot of cases for discovery, for dispute resolution, and in our case, I'll show you the next module, it'll be more clear, in customer servicing directly. So long story short, this data, you're able to view everything that happened on the page. Very usability friendly, that's why I'm kind of demonstrating you can pause, you can play, you can open up and close. This actually isn't opening up and closing. What this is if we have a default size videos are displayed. You click here, it shows it in the exact resolution that the client had on your page to get a bit deeper insight. The cooler stuff when it comes down to display is mobile specific, because I'm sure you know that's what no one's really figured out mobile and usability yet. So when it comes to mobile, this quick 20-second example, we're storing finger patterns on a mobile device. That's the first point of entry. Blue is the finger movement on your second engagement point with a finger on a website. So if you want to understand, all of this is data points too. So if you want to do a query, how long are people engaging my site? When do they flip usually on my site? You can supplement all this with common sense analysis of viewing. So our big asset, once again, is we have these integrated into one source. So you can either watch it, real life, see what actually happened, or you can query the data. I'm just going to show you a couple more views of our video, and then we can dig and get dirty like you wanted to. So the main point I'm going to be making these next couple of views is just the usability. We went a couple years further than just developing this capability. We went to the point of a lot of applicability for practical cases on a business end. So first I'm going to show you what this is this is a record that's created for every single visitor on a website. So every visitor on your website, in this case we're premising an anonymous visitor because they're not a current client, they're not in your CRM yet. Every visitor, each session is laid out. So I'm on their current session in this case. The first page they're on is laid out in this larger screen with, usability to take a closer look. The rest of their session history has a panoramic view beneath where you can go back and forth and just kind of get a decent get a visual representation of what they did on the premise of that visit. So this is done for every hit on your site, every session, every page, every customer. You can click and get this much deeper level to do more analysis on the customer lifecycle, or look for usability. Why does this person who's filled out 4 or 5 pages in a checkout process and keeps leaving half a second before purchasing this product? How does that make any sense? Let's take a closer look. On top here, we can go session to session with this individual customer's history. So in this case, assuming someone's visited your site 84 times, you can go back and, switch back and forth from session to session, all from one unified view. So a lot of businesses on our end are, this is great too to answer. This case we're discovering, this was quite a while ago, an error. So this answers the question a lot of people have of, are you guys just taking an image of this page? And is it, are you only going to show our new site and not show what our site looked like at the time? In our case, we're doing it so if you change your site tomorrow, the video will be accurate to whatever's on your website. So this is used right now as well for customer servicing directly. We have quite a few clients who want to look at their staff internally and create a record for how they're servicing clients, whether it's through live chat or just, a simple way to reference clients' history when they have questions without having to go back and forth from tech to marketing. On the bottom here, we have all of our views we tried to make in our product. We tried to compile as much data as possible in each view so you didn't have to dig around to modules, dig around to different, different tabs where you have to click through to understand something. Did they come from a mobile tablet? So with this deeper dive into each record, we also have all of this information can be customized to 5 KPIs for a site, but the session overview statistics, the customer lifetime statistics, in this case it's a fake example, which is the pages, but this is also just showing how I'm sure you know a lot about the tagging world, so this is just showing how tags are shown, the view that they're shown in before we dig into, how they're applied. So this is all for an individual customer. This view here is potentially live user engagement. So we have a couple patents on this technology because we're the first sites able to do this without any download needed on the user's end. So what you can do here is you can do this by segment. If you have a client and you say, I want to see the people from China who paused for 3 seconds, left my checkout process twice, this is their 4th visit. Once those people are tagged, I want to look at those people live from now on when they show up on my site. So this is just, you know, a live view of website traffic with the ability to chat, engage, kind of manipulate the traffic, whether you want to assess a call to action to pop up next time and give them a discount only for that segment, or if you want to just chat with them or just want to watch them and discover, you know, the data's not giving me the answers why I'm losing this customer. Let's figure out how I can service them. I'm going to take a breath for a second. I have one more view to show you. Is it best for me to finish my last view, Emily, then have questions, or do you want any questions at this point?
Well, why don't see? I'm afraid to jump in now because you said that at first. So, no, I'll let you finish your spiel and then I'll go into my questions for you.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I'm sure, like you, I get a bit deep into this stuff, so sometimes I need to set the timer and make sure that too much time hasn't went by. So, okay, all right. So that's the other view. This is once again the deepest view created for every page, every customer, every session on your site. This is an example of a capability. It's all built into the same analytics module of bringing your traffic to live. And here's another unique feature here. So I click View Details on any live traffic. It directly integrates into this deeper view. So our product is, you know, this is going to be a 10,000-foot overview of the analytics end, but everything we made, we tried to strategically integrate as opposed to be honest, the large corporations in these cases who might not have the flexibility to innovate, you know, as much as we can because they need to keep integrating and bringing on the new smaller clients. We build everything from scratch and made sure we can do this from the beginning. So this was the two video views, the history view and the normal view. I'm just going to run you through 2 minutes from our main dashboard how you would get to these views to probably answer a couple questions of macro versus micro. So core product here, you choose your, you know, pretty standardized analytics, default login. I want to dig into a specific segment. From here, what I think is, for my end usability-wise, I've used all the analytic products, a lot of background of that is, here, once I dug into that segment, we can split this up by customer, which by default is defined by IP address, but it can also be defined by, so in this case, in this segment, we have 250 customers defined by IP address. Can also be defined by cookie or integrated into your current login system to, you know, give names if you have them. You can go straight from this view to take a look at the session-by-session analysis of that same segment, then straight into page-by-page analysis. And I'm in our testing environment to give you a heads up. I want to show you a few cool things that aren't live yet, but I'll give it a second here to load. Okay, so from this view here, this gives you another panoramic view with a few accompanying details of session by session. You can customize all of the most important data points you want listed here with the ability to, like I said, dig deeper. This case engagement on our end is defined as mouse click keystroke movement on the site divided by total time visited on the site. So this would be for social media type sites. They kind of want constant engagement or someone's going to lose interest and leave. If you have a more journalistic or media-based site where you want people who usually have more engagement if they're struggling to stop before they're going to read content, that's going to be a negative factor. But that's the only example we have listed in this view. From here, we can watch the individual video of that session from that view, or to connect the dots of our earlier conversation, we can click View Details on from any of these views shown and dig into the customer history. So I'll just tell you, I'm going to cut myself off now and just tell you, aside from this, we have a lot of other modules. We have a intelligent tagging system using our data source all integrated into here. We have a lot of reporting dashboards, but I'm going to shut up now and I'll let you ask some questions. Emily.
Okay, I actually have a few. Like, what I would like to do, you obviously have a lot of stuff here. I would like to take a few concrete examples of how I could see myself potentially using this to help Ann Taylor, and then you kind of tell me, A, is it possible, and then show me how you do it. So I have two scenarios I'd like to go through. Number one is kind of like I mentioned, you know, I do a lot of work with checkout optimization, and I would like to see how could I dig deeper into understanding how many people are seeing error messages, what the most common error messages are in checkout, and how those customers behave. So after they see the error messages. And that's question one. And then question two is a cross-session behavior. So when we have people that forgot their password, they say, you know, click on forgot password, and then they depart the site, go to their email, get the reset, and then come back to the site. We see like 3 pages in that they abandon. So I would like to potentially dig into that customer segment as well.
Can you bring up that second, I'm taking notes here, the second scenario, if you can bring that up one more time.
Okay, the second scenario is people entering, they're in checkout, or they're trying to get in checkout, and they've forgotten their password. So they click forgot password. And then they click to reset the password, and they go and get the email, and then go to reset they reset their password successfully. And then I think like two or 3 pages in, we see heavy departures at that point. So I would like to dig deeper into that, like see the session replay of that customer. Like, what are they seeing? What are they doing?
Okay. So while it's fresh, I'm going to start with the second example because I have it in front of me. So the second example, so first off, if someone forgets their password, assuming that they're leaving the site, when they say click to reset, then they're going into their email and re-entering the site. That would, depending on the site definitions of a session, let's say that might be 2 separate sessions for that same customer. It's kind of breaking up their session. If that's breaking up their session, I would think the practical answer to that would be this view. Merging and taking a look from session to session, you'd be able to see when they click forgot password, then the session would end abruptly. Then you would see that same customer defined by IP or cookie, because I just want to make sure, are you pretty familiar with IPs and cookies and how they work?
Yes.
Just making sure. Yeah. So assuming that their IP and cookie are going to remain the same because the cookie's on a local machine, the IP is on the network, that's going to remain the same. So I would personally, probably my first question there would be take a look at what happened from our module. You could see exactly what they did. You see the cutoff, then you see the second session once they click reset password, and that would be the step 1 discovery. You know, for me, all these cases, even for our site, I watch what happens for any high-value customer or potential client, and then I look at the data as a step 2 from there. Potential solutions on our end would be the capability we have on the checkout process in particular. This page I'm showing you here, this is a much simpler example than a full checkout process. It's on a traditional form. What we usually do for clients is a step 1 into, if they take a pilot program, is we'll take a look at their form and we'll customize key metrics that we think are associated to abandonment. So in this case, we've defined confidence level on a customer's selection. This is a bank example. If someone makes 3 choices before deciding how much investable assets they had, we would label their confidence level as 33% in that case because they weren't confident before entry. These are customized per site. We tried our hardest to make them absolute, but this takes us 10 to 15 hours on default, and that's what I love giving someone who's looking at a conversion process, is using our 1,000 times as much data and digging deep into pauses and hesitations. Then once you have the B test and the A/B test, comparing and trying to reduce confidence, you know, or trying to increase confidence in these cases, and in the cases of general usability, trying to reduce the time through the checkout process. I went a bit deeper into the checkout end, but did the video answer your question from a capability standpoint, Emily?
So basically, you could, so you can see, like, why don't you take me through an example video of like what that looks like, what a session replay looks like, and what we would be looking for to kind of answer our question.
Okay. Well, I mean, assuming if someone clicked forgot password, I mean, that would be a button that would be visually shown on the site. So we would be able to click on the site you'd be able to click the forgot password, which would be accompanied to a link. So I think, I'm not sure if you can, I think what you're asking is the starting point. Here I would create a tag that said people who forgot their password and left. I would define parameters for a tag, then I would search the tags for all of those instances to show up for a video.
Or really, I would just start with the entry on the reset password page.
Yeah. Well, you're talking, if you're looking at that, you're talking about you're already looking at that individual session or client, right?
I would want to isolate that segment of people that reset their passwords, and then I guess I'm trying to like understand how I would make your tool actionable. Like okay, so this is the segment of people that I want to look at. I want to look at people who reset their password, and then what I've noticed in the Omniture data is that they successfully reset their password and then depart like two pages in. And so I would want to just watch the session replay of a sample of those customers in this segment to try to figure out what they are doing.
Yeah, so we would, in our end, because we do give the raw capability to dig into this thousands of data per every session. We do give that for more programming mentality to go directly into our database to define. So an example like that's basically going to be an advanced tag or event. We're going to create a tag. We're going to dig in and be able to see the mouse movement to correlate, the amount of time that someone left after clicking forgot password to whatever parameters you define as the key segment. We would create that with a tag or an event, and then from this view, you would go into customer view. Once that tag is defined, you would go underneath and say tag saying left checkout process, and that would update this and filter it to only see those sessions.
Okay, so why don't you show me what, click on what one of these video session replays looks like.
Okay, yeah, the examples. Okay, so you want to dig. All right, no problem. I'm going kind of random here. The example I had up, I know what's actually happening for I mean, what it looks like is identical to what your customer's seeing on the screen. I mean, what they're doing, you would see everything. I'm a bit confused here because you would see everything the exact way it was actually entered on the website. So you would watch your customer from the beginning of their path. They entered, let's use Ann as an example. You would see their entry. This isn't a very active session, but you would see their entry points and you'd view exactly what they did on the page in the example you gave. Let me give one that looks shorter. So I guess if you're asking what we're not able to recreate is the question, what are we not able to recreate? How does it look different? Is that the question here?
No, I just wanted to see an example of the session replay.
Okay, one moment, please.
To see what it does, what it shows. Like, are you just showing the pages, like the page views, or are you showing mouse movements, time spent, like all that stuff?
All right, let me, yeah, sorry, I probably flew through the first example, so. Yeah, I'm just trying, when I do these examples, I do them pretty live on the whim, so let's see this. So here, let's just stop talking and watch this session. This is a sample session. So each mouse click there is denoted by orange movements there.
Okay, great, okay.
I'm sorry, I know when I talk and explain. Yeah, I'll stop. Go ahead.
Okay, so I could see their mouse movements, their keystrokes on the different pages. Okay, so now let's dig a little deeper. Let's say I identify. Let's say I randomly picked, 10 of these sample sessions, and I saw that they were all dropping off at that third bullet point, right? The third, what's your financial goal, right? The drop
Correct.
down. And then I wanted to say, well, gosh, is this really the issue? So I would want to further customize my query and say, what percent of all of those that I identified in the segment are dropping off at this particular point? Is that something that you could do with your tool?
Yes, absolutely. Justin, can you, so just along the line is the COO, he's more of the digging deep. Justin, what's the easiest way to do that? Is it by mouse position and proximity to the page or by element position?
So basically the way we store form elements is when someone engages with a drop-down, for example, in this case, general investing or whatever the options are in that drop-down menu, each of those selections is stored within our database as one single data point. So what you can do is query directly for that data point and then add a filter on top of that that says, and then also left the page immediately after, because we have the raw data source in one unified database. So you can add those together as basically one aggregate piece of data and then produce results from there.
Okay, and would your tool be able to show me just the high-level counts? So if I came in and I dug into my example of the checkout departures and I found, oh, it looks like it might be that third entry field that's the issue. So I basically, could create a further filter like you mentioned, and then where would I see the counts of that at a high level? Like if I said, if there were, 10,000 people in my initial segment that reset the password but then, didn't finish, where would I see the counts of people that, of those 10,000, how many dropped off on that one page, the third?
What we would be able to do, another native feature that we have built in is process and conversion analysis, right? So you can funnel traffic and follow the path, the navigation path of those users. So if the successful registration was one URL every time, the navigation flow would start with that URL. The ensuing page might be, then they went back to a checkout page, and then if the conversion ended at that point, you can go into it and look at the individual sessions as to why they left, how they left, or what happened exactly.
Emily, is what you see, I'm not even going to ask. Obviously, you know what conversion funnels are, I'm sure. You can go from the conversion funnel to see, this isn't the best example, our website, but in this case, you have a number, and you would have each entry point of where people fell out with the total number of people in each situation. And from there, you could click directly. This is, in our case, was to discover errors a while back. You can directly sync, going from the conversion funnel view directly to that individual session to watch the video. I'm not sure if that answers the question. This should be an error now that shows up here. This is what we set up. This is what we set up early on to detect some basic site errors because our stupid techs were telling us it wasn't their fault. They were blaming on the marketing end. So in this case, we were able to dig and watch and discover the error from that step. I'm not sure if that would answer the question of, not sure if we have a gap missing of the analysis and getting the counts as well.
Yeah, I guess I can see that you can drill down into the, very detailed level on the session level, but, we get, over 200,000 people on the site a day, so I would need to be able to go to that middle layer too, right? I have a high-level metrics in Omniture, and you're showing very detailed data points here, but what I'm missing is a way to summarize what is, like if I identify what I think is an issue here, looking at the individual, session replays, I want to be able to summarize it and say, okay, out of 10,000 people that we saw, you know, leaving after the password reset occurred, you know, 8,000 of those left on this one field. Like, I guess that's what I'm looking for.
Pat, can you open up the page you had open that has the form overview with each form element and its individual statistics?
This one?
Yeah.
Or
So,
is this the one? This is highlighting the abandoned visitors from a session. Is this what you're talking about?
no, we're looking for a macro overview level. So the other page, form overview. So to answer that question a little more clearly, what we can do, and Patrick already outlined this, and that this page is usually needs to be customized on a site-by-site or page-by-page basis, depending on how the form is constructed. But we can create analytics and statistics for each individual element in that form. So, for example, if you thought the third option was where people were falling out, we can do a macro analysis of all the people that left after hitting that that third element and create reports based on, you know, specifically those people.
So that would become a metric, to be clear here. I think this is what might be missing, Emily, is once we created this and identified, that would be a metric that could be integrated into all of the different views we'd show, including the step one analytic view. That would be a new metric.
Oh, okay.
I think
So
that might be
like
what I'm missing here. Yeah.
Like what you were saying, where we would create a segment, you can also create a metric.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay.
And then you can filter all your data based on that metric and see how it behaves across a time span and from a, you know, macro over level.
Okay. That's yeah, because I was going to say a lot of these answers I know we could do it a few different ways, creating it as a metric or tagging or events, etc. But for what you want to say, yeah, the macro level, being able to turn it into a number that's clickable is not it's not an issue either in those cases. So.
Okay.
If you don't
okay.
mind.
I get it.
Okay. I just wanted to show one thing I'd actually usually in my arsenal. Do you use heat maps? I don't know for how much you look at engagement. Do you use click heat or mouse movement maps much for your analysis personally?
We don't have mouse movement, but we do have heat maps in Omniture.
Okay. All right. So
but they were created eons ago. They're technically, and I don't know how accurate they are, frankly.
Okay. So on that note, yeah, we have for macro-based analysis, we can also generate mouse movement and heat maps. And once again, I'm sure you can guess where I'm going to go towards. Our differentiator here is a lot of heat maps, mouse maps, conversion funnels give you the answer of, okay, 50 people clicked over here in this top left portion. Great. Now I got to go back to the starting point and figure out how I stop that by changing site design, misleading. Does this look like a clickable element? In our case, like everything else, if you saw clicks here, you can click and dig into those visitor sessions. So now it's kind of answering the why. What could compel someone to go towards there? And that's even if you want to look at a few sample sets, or if you wanted to, here's a great example for your reference, one click, but regardless of number, if you're going in, the tens of millions, etc., with mouse and heat movement maps, you can identify them in those ways and dig deep to answer questions, because you don't want to spend hours watching videos. You might just curiosity. Before we sit here, figure out the answer, let's watch a couple and see if we've overlooked, hey, we're not optimized for this new browser that came out 6 months ago that's a big use in China now, that kind of discovery. So.
Yeah, no, I like this. This is good.
So on our end, Emily, to be perfectly frank about it, we're going to be in Florida a couple weeks from now. We have a follow-up with a client. We're going to be in Florida a couple weeks from now. At your point, is this something, I don't know where you're in the middle with your talks, your relationship with companies, but we consider you I like people like you a lot more than speaking to companies because I know you really know your stuff and understand to even give us potential feedback. Would you have interest in potentially getting together and digging deeper? Or before that, what would you think would be the next step on our end?
Let me actually talk with Carly about my thoughts, and we'll go from there.
I'm sorry, you cut off, Emily, the last few seconds?
I was saying that I think the next steps, I think for me to kind of talk with Carly and give her an overview of what I think, where you could fit, where the tool could fit in, you know, with what compared to what we have already, and then we could. I think we should go from there.
Okay. Great. Yeah, I'll mention one last note, very relevant for us, for any enterprise. I talked about with this Carly briefly, too. She said, this all sounds great. Not sure you're big enough for us. You know, you'd be able to handle our data size. And number two, the pain of, I know how long the build is on Omniture and Formetrics and how much of an investment in time and resources it is. So I told her very clearly that our next step in cases of large enterprises has been setting up a 3-month pilot where we would not conflict with anything that's currently happening, where we might focus on one particular page or one checkout process, and where we can, our system is flexible. We can disable the analytics portion with a couple clicks. We can disable certain videos. We can disable live. So long story short, complement what you're doing in the short term with a long-term goal of, once you guys take a closer look, replacing. You know, so that's a very important point, because a lot of products, it's kind of, you either need to use us or them, but we have a very flexible data source where anything you'd want to manipulate, we can just fill those small gaps, you know. You just wanted sessions supplemented, so.
Yeah, I don't think in the long term we would ever be looking to replace Omniture. There's just a lot of capabilities there. But I do think that there's, you know, some value add here, and what you have that could, that I don't think it's a one or the other kind of situation.
Yeah, great. No, that's all I was really highlighting there. I know, like you said, anyone comfortable with a specific organization or setup isn't going to change. So other than that, yeah, we have a lot more features. I didn't dig into the deeper view, but if you had any other questions, please don't hesitate to ask us from a capability standpoint or practicality standpoint. So.
Yeah, I think the net your value add is that you're able to you know, customize these segments and dig in, and then of course the session replay. Everybody loves that, because we always have you know, when I see, you know, page drop off, you know, or the potential of, oh, is this an error message that's happening? You know, unfortunately, if we didn't have that included in our development with Omniture implementation, we don't have visibility into that. So I think the value add here is probably the flexibility of your tool and being able to kind of customize queries like that on the fly. So no, I think it's good.
Okay. Great. So can we, I don't know what your schedule looks like, but where do we want to schedule a next meeting at this time? Are you available sometime a couple of weeks from now, or what do you think? How, I don't know how your process works and how long your forward and back is usually with.
Well, let me just chat with Carly and see what she thinks, and then we can sync back up.
Okay. All right, no problem. Yeah, my email should be CC'd on the contact from Tori, our executive assistant, with the initial request. So any other questions, feel free to reach out directly. I didn't mention, yeah, I'm the COO. Justin's, we're both the founders of the product. So if you have any deeper questions, we can answer them fairly quickly. So.
Okay. Okay. No, I think it's a solid tool.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Emily. I appreciate your insight, and hopefully we'll talk soon.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye,
Okay.
Emily.
Bye.